And welcome to another Horizon Roundtable podcast. I'm not Bob, but you probably already know that already. This is Matt here. You can find me at Grizz Talk OU, filling in for Bob. He's out this week, and he's allowed to do that every once in a while. But don't worry, you don't have to just listen to me. Joining me today, coming from Northern Kentucky, is Kyle Craven.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Find me at Kyle Craven _NR, and then of course at Norse Report.
Are you always the North Report guy, or is there a couple of you that do that one?
So it's funny you ask. Chris Hart, so he's at Chris Hart _NR. We both run the Twitter account, but we have a few other people on the staff as well as far as like writing goes. But we're usually the faces behind the account. You'll be able to tell very obviously which one of us is tweeting from the account because we both have very different tones. I'm more I'm I don't know. I'm not as bad as NKU Valhalla, but I trend more on that side of things, and Chris is more like professional and buttoned up. So
We definitely get to see both sides of that. Well, cool, man. Kyle, you ready to talk about the week that was? There's a whole lot of player stuff going on. I was
hell yeah.
another bad week for the Horizon playing. We'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about what's coming up in the next week. Sound cool?
Yeah, no doubt, man. Let's do it.
All right, we're gonna start with a whole lot of player updates. Man, there was some personnel things going on within the Horizon this week. First one, Tank Hemphill out for the season. Big blow for those guys over at Green Bay.
Yeah, that's brutal, man. I mean, I to be honest with you, I've gotten the chance to kind of keep up a little bit, mostly on Twitter, with how the rest of the league is doing. I haven't actually gotten the chance. Green Bay is one of the only teams I haven't gotten the chance to sit down and actually watch one of their games yet this year. But I know that Tank is like he's obviously super important, and that team, and sort of was a dark horse. I think I might have had them fourth this year, or maybe fifth behind UIC, which is another. Well, I mean, we can talk about that later, but yeah, it's brutal for them. I feel really bad for them. I think I said on Twitter when I saw that Tank got hurt. It's one of those things where it sucks for the league. Like you hate to see it. I know that everyone wants their team to be in a better position. So like, if someone like that goes down, you're kind of in the back of your mind, like you shouldn't be thinking this, but you're kind of like, well, good for us, right? I don't feel that way at all. I want this league to be absolutely the best it can possibly be every game, and I want us to still be on top of it. When I say us, I mean NKU, obviously. And so you see that, and you're just like, geez, that's just you can't help but just hate it.
I fully agree. I saw that, and I'm never happy to see a player injury. If some of the others, you get yourself suspended or something, I'm gonna laugh at you and revel in that. But an injury is not anything you want to see in this league. End of the day, you want every team at 100% when you face them. And seeing Hemphill go down for the year, I mean, it sounds like he's probably gonna get the medical red shirt, so we'll get another
Yeah.
year of him after all, which is great for him. I hope that everything's okay. But you know what I mean? Like you don't want to see that, and that sucks.
Yeah, yeah. You're 100% right. Phoenix Rising actually on Twitter, they corrected me on something. Again, to highlight the fact that I haven't watched Green Bay yet this year, I made the wrong assumption that he had been playing all season. I wasn't really sure, and so I quote tweeted and said, "Well, I guess he's only played 10 games, so per NCAA rules, that's 30% of the season, so he should be able to get the red shirt." And they corrected me and let me know that he had only actually played one full game.
He
So
played one game, 11 minutes. That's all he'd gotten in this year.
yeah,
So
so he's a lock. He's a lock for the red shirt. Now, unfortunately for Green Bay, what that does, and I mean, who knows? He's hurt, so he probably won't have a ton of opportunities out there. But unfortunately for Green Bay, what that does is it definitely opens up the whole grad transfer thing. I don't know if he's already transferred or anything like that before, but if he wanted to, he could consider that. And we know how crazy transfers are in today's NCAA. So
well, it's funny you mentioned that. Keep moving because that's the perfect transition to our next player update. Free Rashad over here in Oakland land. Rashad Williams does not get his waiver request. It was denied on the appeal, which just blows my mind. Actually really surprised.
well, so
Uh,
was it the NCAA that blew that denied him?
yes, at the end of the day, it's the NCAA. As much as I'd love to blame Scott Garrett, and I think they did some really shitty things, and didn't they made his life harder. End of
Well,
the day, the NCAA. Oh, go
he
ahead.
dragged his feet. He dragged his feet, didn't he? Like, you're going to have to keep catch you up to speed on this. I thought my understanding was that Scott Garrett basically like dragged his he was like the petulant child you're dragging through the grocery store. Like he did everything he could to like stop that from happening. Is
So
that not true?
yeah, that's accurate. Basically, what it comes down to is the way the transfer works now. The school is asked if they are okay with this transfer. They don't get the say on it, but that's one of the
Yeah.
questions. And Cleveland State had an issue with all their transfers. They said no. I can tell you from the Oakland standpoint, all those transfers, Norris to Loyal, all those can't be said. Yeah, it's cool. If they don't want to be here, I'm not going to be the one to stand in the way. Then when the NCAA looks at it, they say, no, you're transferring just to transfer. Cool, you sit out your year. But the Cleveland State ones, Cleveland State said to every one of them that they had an issue, so they all were denied initially. But then some of these, Rashad Dunn going to St. John's, I think that's where he is at. That got picked up by Dick Vitale at one point. It put a lot of pressure on the NCAA. He transferred without ever playing a year at Cleveland State, and he got his. Rashad's was a family thing. There was sick, I believe it's his dad or a family member that was sick. He wanted to come closer to home. That's what it's supposed to be about. But after the initial one and then NCAA took a second look at it, they still denied him. So he is done for the year.
No, listen. You don't even have to go that far about the family thing. That might be that. I'm not taking it away. That's and saying that's not the reason. But I'll give you an example. Chris Vogt from NKU, right?
Yeah.
So he left and followed Coach Brannon, John Brannon, when he left NKU and went to UC. Chris Vogt left and joined him. We signed, as far as I know, we signed his waiver the day he wanted to be gone. That's what Ken Bodoff released him. We didn't even have. I don't even think Darren Horn. I think Darren Horn had just gotten hired, like maybe 2 or 3 days in, and we got the news that Vogt was transferring. So, it has nothing to do with the whole be close to family, whatever. At the end of the day, the guy that recruited you is gone. There's a new guy coming in. You have no idea where you fit in with that guy. You should have every right to transfer. And the thing is, there's inconsistency. The NCAA has zero. They do not abide by precedent at all. They set a precedent when they let someone transfer like Chris Vogt, and then they hold someone out like Rashad for no reason, and there's zero difference in that situation. In fact, you could make the case that Rashad has more of a reason to be allowed because he's transferring, like you said, to be close to family. Hours. I mean, we're Cleveland and Michigan and Detroit are how many hours away from each other? 8?
3 to 4.
I don't know.
3 to 4.
Okay, 3 to 4. Chris Vogt transferred 15 minutes away.
Yep.
And so there's zero precedent, and what it comes down to, and you're not going to find anyone out there within our Horizon League group or whatever you want to call it that is more anti NCAA than I am. Well, it comes down to the NCAA is a corrupt organization that has zero. All they are is a governing body. They have no rhyme or reason to why they do things other than just to flex on people. That's it. So it's absolute garbage. But I've obviously don't know a ton about this Rashad situation, but I've been seeing you guys on Twitter about it, and it's unbelievable to me. It drives me insane, and I really hope something is done about it from a large scale, whether it's teams say F the NCAA and start leaving it and start their own thing, and we just get rid of it all completely, or there's got to be some massive structural change.
Well, and
that's
Tom
all.
Izzo, he left the national coaches something or other that he was a part of when he had a transfer situation that he was very unhappy with the way it played out, and he just said, you know what, I'm out. So I'm thinking, they opened this transfer portal last year, and I think they opened up way more than they expected. And I have a feeling that in the next year or so, there's going to be a lot of changes about how things are done. And hopefully that'll help, because this Rashad situation was just, I feel bad for the kid. I feel bad for the family. It's just not cool.
I will say that I can see legitimate situations where the NCAA might have to step in and say, look, here's the window for when you can transfer and stuff like that, just to keep things organized. But at the end of the day, you're not paying these kids. These kids are making schools millions of dollars. I mean, obviously, maybe not at our level. That's not what's happening. But this is the one source of power these kids have, is control over their destiny. Can you imagine Matt going into work every single day and not being able to get a new job? You have a terrible day at work and you're like me and you can be like, F this place, and we can start looking on LinkedIn tomorrow and start looking for new jobs. But these guys are stuck. They can't. They can't, and I'm so over the tired argument of like, well, they get free school. I don't give a crap. I mean, free school doesn't make up for a terrible situation. So,
Well, exactly. And like I said, I mean, it's just the inconsistencies that drive me nuts. Like you said, the Chris Vogt versus Rashad Williams thing here is just that is everything you need to see in a nutshell of what this problem is. So we learned that this week though that his waiver was denied, his appeal was denied. And let's just do the last bit of the other bit of bad news. Skyelar Potter over at Wright State is transferring. Didn't see that coming.
no, that's weird. I mean, I don't really know why or what the deal is. Like, I honestly, do you know like what his? I mean, is he getting minutes?
He was he's a depth guy. I mean, hold on, I can pull it out. I know he's I mean, he's not like they're giving up a starter here or anything, but he's coming off the bench and I mean, he was definitely getting minutes. He was a part of this team. It's not, it's not like he's being redshirted or anything crazy like that.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, I probably should have looked a little bit more into this when we first started, but
he's getting 16, almost 17 minutes a game, scoring a little over 6 points a game, couple rebounds. Like, I mean, that's a good depth guard.
yeah. Where's he from? Can you click on his name real quick and see where he's from?
I sure can. Let's see. He's from Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Okay, so he's close. I mean, he's close to home, basically.
Yeah.
Bowling Green, Kentucky. They just got done playing at Western. That's Western Kentucky, or was it at? No, I'm sorry. Western came to Wright State, so that's a complete side note. But Western Kentucky's in Bowling Green. That's interesting. I don't know. I wonder if something was whispered. I'm totally speculating. I wonder if something was whispered in his ear. Hey, come on down here. I don't know. Who knows?
Dude, I can tell you that these kids have so many people in their ear all the time now, especially through social media. It's crazy. I have some people that like to talk to me about people they know, on Oakland's roster or other rosters, family members or really close friends, and it's amazing the way these schools try to get to these kids so that they're not doing anything illegal, but talking to this person that knows this kid and letting them know that if he did so happen to transfer, that they have this many scholarships. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I mean, we see it all the time with these handlers. I mean, they're all over the place. And it's interesting because like we're seeing that at North Report. I know I don't want to go too deep into it because it's, sensitive subject, but I know for a fact that we have been called out by name to some of the coaches within the program, basically saying, don't talk to these guys because we don't know them. I mean, they know us, but they can't control us. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so they
absolutely.
don't know what we're going to say, and they don't want any leaks or anything like that. So they're telling their players and coaches not to talk to us. And it sucks because like we would never ever give away a source. But it is what it is. They want to control the narrative. So I could totally see that, to be honest with you.
Makes sense. I mean, it sucks for what we do, but you can't blame them. Like if I was them, I'd be doing the same thing. Don't talk to them.
Well, yeah, especially, I mean, here's the thing, like I get when it's so they're trying to keep a handle on it. Obviously, they don't want it to cross these ethical lines of, like you always say on Twitter, don't tweet at players. You always say that. And it's because
I don't tag players in negative things ever. They'll read it. That's up to them. But like if I'm mad at a player and I'm tweeting about a bad game, I will not tag them in it.
Well, it's not even where I'm going with this, Matt, is that there's a fine line that can't be crossed. I mean, even tweeting encouraging things at players, like we will get season ticket holders at NKU. So I'm a season ticket holder. We will get letters, basically like from compliance that say, hey, here's the do's and don'ts of being a season ticket holder. Because essentially, when you're a season ticket holder, you're a donor to the
You're a booster.
Yeah, exactly. So if you you have to you have to be very careful with what you're doing and saying in on social media.
Absolutely.
So that's why there's such a tight grip, because look, is the NCAA gonna crack down because Valhalla Vanguard, which by the way none of those guys are season ticket holders, but because they're tweeting at Marcus Warwick, who signed his 2020 or who committed for 2020? No, they're not going to crack down. Compliance will get to them before the NCAA does.
Right, that's their job.
But they don't want to have to, and I think that's why they're telling these players be careful. And then like to your grand point, they want to stop that little stuff before it escalates into the big stuff, like handlers coming and saying, hey, I mean, if you did come to Western, here's what it would look like. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes. I mean, so he announced his transfer. So is he? I guess he did it before.
He finished the semester and then he's done. He's done. No different than any other kid. You finish your semester at a school and you're off to a different school. If that's if you're not happy or whatever.
But he's out. He's out now. Like he is not playing another game.
Correct.
Okay, so my question is the timing on that's very interesting. Is he going to get an extra year? I know they offer the year for medical redshirt. Is he going to? I guess they're going to. I'm not really sure how it works. Like he basically wasted a season of eligibility.
My understanding is he will get that mid-season transfer where he can't play the first half of a season and is eligible at the end of the school or at end of the first semester at whatever school he transfers to.
Okay, I don't know how that works. So, but basically, so he'll have to sit out for non-conference essentially for next year and then be ready for conference wherever he goes.
Most likely.
Man, it'd be brutal for Wright State if he went to like a Horizon League school. I doubt he would do it, but
I doubt it.
Yeah, I know. It'd just be funny. Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, hey, you know what? Look, you got me on record now saying this. I'm not mad at any player ever for transferring. They got one opportunity to kind of capture lightning in a bottle and try to get people's attention and go make this into a profession. So they got to do whatever they got to do to make that happen. And I could give a crap less who does it when. And I'm on record saying that if Jalen Tate wants to grad transfer at the end of this season, if Tyler Sharp gets an extra year of eligibility because of his freshman season at Louisville, if he gets that extra year of eligibility and he decides to grad transfer somewhere, more power to him. I'll be the one helping him pack his bag.
So Kyle, question though on that. What if, let's say Jalen Tate gets it? What if he came out in a press conference or in a news release and said, I'm coming back, and then 3 weeks later he was gone? How would you feel about it? Still cool?
Yeah, I wouldn't care. Dude,
Okay.
I'm telling you, I treat this so much different than I treat professional. So like, okay, perfect example. LeBron James, right? Like I hated him when he left Cleveland the first time. Absolutely despised him. But he's getting paid and he came out and he promised, I'm going to do this for this city. Like we're going to get this championship, whatever. It's all good now. It's water under the bridge. It is what it is. But from a professional standpoint, it's like there is sort of a sense. I mean, I understand it's a business, but like I don't feel as bad hating those guys for like jumping around, leaving teams, whatever, because they're getting paid for it and they are allowed to monetize on their name and everything like that. But for these guys, like I look at what they're doing. I'm not even kidding you. Maybe I'm a little too far to the left on this, but I look at what they're doing as like indentured servitude. Like I'm being dead serious. Like they deserve to do whatever they can possibly do. And the only way I would be upset if that happened, if Jalen Tate came out and did that, is if it caused one of our guys to decommit.
Yeah.
And
that makes sense.
And it affected like a future player, because then we would be screwed for 2 spots. But at the end of the day, like I'm not going to hold it against a kid who literally makes $0 to do this, who finds himself in a position where he can elevate his name. And really, dude, it happened with Chris Vogt. Like Chris Vogt left really late in the school year and announced that he was leaving. And it kind of screwed us. Like we were losing Drew. Chris was the presumed starter for this year. And like, we kind of got effed. Like we didn't have anybody, like we had Silas, but like, he's not starter material really, So
well, I should probably learn to take a page out of your book and learn to get over it. Cause obviously I'm still pretty frustrated with Javen Cumberland coming out saying he was going to be back and then taking off to Cincinnati. I don't mind the Cincinnati move. We all kind of expected it, but it was no, I'm going to be here and then kind of running away in the middle of the night. That just really pissed me off. But
yeah, he art modelled it. Like he packed his bags when everyone was asleep and got out of there.
I mean, he never even told Campy. Campy found him in the portal, but whatever.
Yeah, that's a character thing. I will say this, like, it'd be really hard for me to not be mad at that. I would mostly be disappointed that he would have that kind of a character, like because he spent 4 years with you guys, right?
Yeah, at least because he had a redshirt medical in there at one point. He got hurt a lot at Oakland, so
so him and Campy know each other. Like
right.
I feel like he owed Greg Campy a conversation. And knowing what I know about Greg, or Coach Campy or whatever you guys call him over there, he seems like the kind of guy that wants what's best for his players. Like he would be fine. He would be sad, but fine with it.
He does. And, I want to keep moving through there, but I can tell you, like, I was like everybody when Norris transferred this offseason. I was like, are you kidding me? I was angry about it. Like that's someone that can't be, invested in, and then he just pieced out. But when I talked to coach about it, he was like, you know what? How many freshmen do you know that went to college for a year and decided that wasn't the school they wanted to be at? That's what happened. And I went, you know what? That's legit. I can't be mad about that. So good luck to everybody, I guess.
Yeah, no
Um,
doubt, no doubt.
so that's the bad news on player personnel. So a couple good things that came up. Looks like Loudon Love will be back for conference play, which is actually a good thing for the conference, whether we'd want to see him, against our teams or not. Loudon Love is
Yeah,
good for the conference.
yeah, and you could add Jalen Tate to that as well. He should be back. We expect. I don't know this 100% for sure, but he should be back for the front half of conference play. Mid-January is like the latest. Is what I'm hearing.
Okay,
So
that's good because I did not have him on my notes because I haven't heard anything. So we will see him in conference then at least. That's good. He's not long term.
yeah,
Um,
it was an 8 week injury, and so
what
the
is he out
sort
with?
of
What is it? What is his
yeah, he
injury?
actually ended broken hand. He ended up actually getting surgery. But again, 8 weeks minimum from the time it happened. So that would have put us at the Detroit Oakland road trip. But my guess, this is just my guess, is if he's not completely with the way we're playing right now, if he's not completely 100% ready to go by the Oakland game, which is that Sunday, I think like January 5th, maybe, we'll probably look to see him out one more week just to kind of recover. But again, that's the latest I've heard. But I'm like a couple weeks behind on my news. So
Okay. Well, that's good to hear because again, yeah, I hadn't heard anything on that one. So we got Loudon Love. He's coming off of that fractured elbow, but he's expected back for conference play. That Wright State team, I'll tell you what, they keep getting kind of scary. When he goes down and they just find pieces to put in there. That's Grant Basili has really filled in that hole, which was not expected from the freshmen. So that's a good team. So Loudon Love coming back is going to be good for them. The other one that was announced this week is Jordan Blount will be back in a week. And I'm pretty sure he was expected to be out for the season, wasn't he?
I thought so. I mean, the Twitter sphere reacted to that, it seemed like it was a surprise comeback. So good for him. Um,
You know,
yeah,
you you figure UIC is back to full strength, assuming everybody's actually healthy. But that means we finally get to see this UIC team that most of us thought should be really good, but then it's just hard to not count them out because you don't trust Steve McLean.
yeah. I mean, I don't. It's kind of like a. So here's a good example. A lot of us here in Northern Kentucky are Cincinnati Bengals fans, and so this USC team feels like those Bengals teams that kept making the playoffs every year. And you were like, okay, this is the year, this is the year, this is the year, and we just looked like ass in every playoff game. And so that's kind of like what this USC team is. It's like we've been saying this is the year for them, or maybe not this is the year, but like they're going to be a team to be reckoned with, and then they'll get the 6th seed or whatever. And you're just like, okay, I guess not. So I'll believe it when I see it. That's kind of where I'm at with them. I'm to the point where I'll just believe it when I see it. I'm not going to give them any smoke or gas them up or anything until I actually see it happen. So
Yeah, definitely agree. I mean, we've talked for quite a while, past couple recordings about UIC and is McLean even going to last with the new AD and all that, and nothing changes there. But maybe getting the team back to full strength, Blount coming back, maybe McLean's trying to push him a little bit to hopefully save his job. You never know, but you know what? If he's back and healthy, that's good for the league, good for the team, all that stuff. So that's cool to see, and I hope that team gets rolling a little bit and can be closer to what we expected them to be.
yeah, no, but I mean, based on what I just said, it makes it seem like I don't want USC to be good. Obviously, I do. I would love for them to push us and compete really strongly. I mean, if this Horizon League can end up by the end of the season having 5 teams that are competitive and like really, pushing for the 1 seed, then that's a great year for this league. Right now, it doesn't look like that's going to happen, but it could. So who knows?
Awesome. Well, those are the player personnel updates I had. Do you have anything else on that? Or are we good to move on to the week that was?
Yeah, no, I think we're solid. I didn't see anything else crazy that happened this week, so I think we're
That's a
good.
that's a lot of player movement, but end of the semester, so not surprised to see some things, but yeah, I mean, here we are. So happy to see a lot of people on their way back. a couple people ruled out, which is unfortunate in my world. At least we could definitely have used Rashad Williams this season, especially as a
Yeah.
point and shooter. Both things that Oakland's missing. So as of at this moment, Youngstown State is playing the final game for the week, and they are currently up. So that's let's pretend that they win that. If they do defeat
Yeah.
Southeast Missouri State, the Horizon League will be 5-9 on the week. So even with that win, that's not a good week for the Horizon. Again, another down week for all of us essentially.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, I'll just be honest with you. It's kind of becoming an expectation at this point. It's tough. Like I went on a Twitter binge at some point last year about the disappointment in this league, and like there's so much opportunity here. I mean, we have 5 NBA cities in this league. There's not much reason, in my opinion, for this league not to be at least 5 spots higher. Right now, it's the 20. It ended the year last year 21st overall out of 32 conferences and net ranking. It's got to be in like around 17, 16, 15, somewhere in that range. I just don't understand why it's not. So,
I mean, Saturday we had 3 teams with home games, actual true home games lose. Like, I mean, Oakland's was technically a home game, but we'll talk about that in a second. Obviously, not really a home game, but you've got we'll actually talk about Detroit Mercy next. But you had Detroit Mercy hosting Toledo, they lost at home. You had Green Bay hosting Evansville, they lost at home. You had Milwaukee hosting Eastern Illinois, they lost at home. Like, it's not protecting your home court, and that's always going to
yeah.
be a problem. You get these guys in, you got to win these games in non-conference.
Well, so the Oakland and Detroit games, those are like those are games I'm going to give a pass on for 2 different reasons. Oakland, I'll give them a pass because, I mean, look, they just don't match up well against a team like Michigan State. That's just not the kind of game that Oakland's going to win. It's a great scheduling game, but I'm not mad at them for coming out and losing that game. Now, I know you would like to see them do better, but I'm telling you from like an outside of the Oakland hemisphere perspective, that's not a game where the rest of the league was like, "Oh, suck at Oakland, you guys lost." Like, we're all, kind of just watching that happen. You know what I mean? Like, we weren't.
I would have liked to have seen it kept closer than 23. I was,
Yeah, fair enough.
I really thought that we had some matchup things that we would excel at. The one thing I was most concerned about was, stopping Cassius Winston. Cassius Winston had 9 points yesterday. He didn't have a very good game.
He was three of 13 from the field. He was not very good.
It was the rest of Michigan State, which is where I thought that Oakland had a good chance. Rest of Michigan State just blew up Oakland, and like Oakland, I mean, they were exposed, which is what that game's supposed to be. It's supposed to prepare them for the conference, and they were exposed. The offense is every bit as weak as we've been saying it is. And they got out rebounded at times. Brad Brechting was a black hole. I saw someone else say that somewhere. It was on a message board, Twitter maybe. Anytime the ball got to him, it was gone. He couldn't put it in the hole. He was losing it. Like, we need to see in conference from last year, Brad Brechting. We didn't have that when we needed him at with MSU. But I'm not mad about the loss. I really thought that we could keep it closer than we did. But honestly, with some of the blowouts we've seen in the Horizon, a 23-point loss to Michigan State doesn't really look so bad, at least on paper.
Yeah, I mean, neutral site game, huge arena. Again, a team that, like, we've already talked about this a little bit, so I don't want to go down this path again, but Oakland's just not built this year to compete with Power 5 programs. Like, the one thing that Oakland dominates at is size, and I don't care what you do, who you have, you're not going to match up size-wise to the big Power 5 schools. A team like NKU, for instance, they offset. Like, if NKU played Michigan State, they would have had a way better chance just because we're such a shooting team that if we get hot, we can beat anybody. Like,
right.
We've shot over 50% the last 4 games from the field. Like, I don't know if Oakland's ever going to have a stretch like that. But the thing is, like, but the thing is that size translates really well to the Horizon League. So that's why I'm not so worried about Oakland, because I think that their style is so different and so contrasting to the teams at the top of the league, that if they figure it out, and I know it's a big ask because we're already halfway through December, so we got conference play starting in like 13 days. So
2 weeks.
I know Yeah, I know it's a huge ask for Oakland to figure it out, and like, but you guys got the best coach for it. So I'm not counting them out yet. What I was saying though, Detroit Mercy. Uh, we'll talk about AD not being in, but like I consider it almost a moral victory for them. They played really, really well without their best player, and I think that's a confidence boost for everyone else on the court. Is like, hey, we don't need this guy to compete. I mean, they almost beat, granted at home, but they almost beat one of the best teams in the MAC last night. So, and that's without this 1,000 point scorer on their team that shoots 30% every game.
So really, the question becomes: is Detroit Mercy almost better without Antoine Davis? Is it? Did it? To me, it became that clear that this team is built around make AD look good, give him every opportunity to get to the NBA because that's what Daddy wants. And when he wasn't
Yeah.
there, they had some opportunities with some players that actually can play a little bit, and they made some things happen. And I think they
So
ran out of gas. They were up on Toledo most of the game. I think they just ran out of gas.
yeah, so I'll answer that. If AD comes back and plays exactly the way he's been playing, yes, this team is better without Antoine Davis. If if Antoine Davis was at home watching that game, which he was because he was tweeting about it, if he's
Absolutely.
at home, if he's at home watching that game and saying, "Okay, my boys can play," and if Mike Davis has any self awareness whatsoever and says, "Okay, these boys can play," like and they, based on last night, they changed the way that they approach the game, and Antoine becomes more of a get everyone else involved. Which, by the way, I don't know why they think him just scoring all the time is going to make him an NBA player. It's so much more to that in the NBA than scoring all the time. Look at like LaMelo Ball, for instance. He had to go to Australia and like he's become a major facilitator, and that's why he's going to be such a high draft pick. But like in high school, all he was a scorer, and everyone was like, "Oh, I don't even know, is this guy a first rounder?" Like, we'll see. So anyway, if they have this like awakening to and decide to change the way they play, then yeah, this league is wide open in the middle for sure for them to come in and make some noise in that 4 to 6 range.
hmm I agree.
So,
And I mean, I'm not a big Detroit Mercy guy. We all know that. It's the fun rivalry, but
me either.
um,
Me either. By the way, so you're
but
good.
but I think they showed a lot of things. I'm not Carrick Jones. I'm not going to start predicting that. Oh yeah, we're top three finish. No, 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 no. But they showed that they are a better team than they've been showing this year, and I think that's good to see from them. If you're into that kind of thing, yay for everybody type deal. But I'm not sure that they know how to play that way with Antoine Davis.
Well, yeah, no, that's 100% right. Like it's almost like I mean, I don't know how much basketball you play on your time, but
Zero.
you know,
You don't want
okay,
that.
okay, cool, cool. So if you're ever picking up, so for me, I do play basketball all the time. If you ever pick up a game at the rec or whatever gym you're a part of or whatever, and you get this one guy on the court that's this baller, and you know that they are, that could actually hurt your team a lot more because you're just going to stand around and watch them, and like it gets you out of the flow of the offense. They dribble the ball 30 times before they pass it, and you're just kind of like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? You make a cut and you end up cutting to where they drove because you have no clue like what they're going to do. And so I think if Antoine Davis can figure out a way to become the focal point of the offense while also still getting everyone involved. In fact, you know what I would do? First game he comes back, I would set up play for I would set up probably 3 plays right off the bat to get the ball down low and then also to get Brad Calipari a couple of wide open threes. Just immediately, just get them in the flow of the game, get them feeling like they're involved, and then see what happens. Because I mean, they're all so used to Antoine just, all right, give it to him. Let's see what he does. And that kills them. They're 1-9 or whatever they are. So
1-8, yeah. And I mean, let's be
one and
honest.
eight.
If I was on the court with Antoine Davis, that's absolutely what I would do is, hey, do something with this because I'm not going to be able to, but I'm also not a Division One scholarship basketball player, and these guys are, and they've got to be able to play. I mean, they lost by 39 to Notre Dame this week too. So to have those two different, Notre Dame's really not a very good team this year. So to have those two games in one week, that should say something to Mike Davis. And Mike Davis is a good coach. He's been there, he's done it. Um, I'll be really curious to see what this team looks like, when Antoine Davis comes back. I heard he was out with the flu, like you said, he was tweeting, so he's okay. But I heard he was hooked up to an IV and couldn't even leave the house. Like, I hope he gets better. I like Antoine Davis. I'm on record saying that I can't wait till he graduates and I'll cheer for him and root for that kid. Um, but that team is clearly better than they've shown. but Antoine Davis is the problem and the answer all at the same time. I'll be curious to see if Daddy Coach can put that.
Yeah. No, dude, it's 100%. You captured it because I mean he's such a nice guy. Like we'll talk crap to him and expect him to be a what about it, but he's like super cool. Like he'll talk back and joke around, and he's got a lot of support on Twitter. Everything he puts out, people are hyping him, and he's a well liked, well received person. So like I want him to be successful, not at the detriment of NKU. But I want him, like, dude, I'm on record. Like when I watched him play NKU last year in the Horizon League open round, like opening game at NKU, and that dude was getting everything he wanted. He made some of the most difficult shots I've ever seen from a mid-major basketball player in person. I was unbelievable, and I turned to my friends. I said, "That's the best player I've ever seen, play at this level." And I stand by it. And like, I want to see him be successful, but it's not going to come, the way it's going right now. He's just, I think he's had 1 or 2 games, maybe over 40% from the field this year.
He is the third best player I've watched in person at this point, and the other 2 have been in the NBA for at least a little bit. One of them being Kay Felder, who had, he had his cup of coffee in the NBA. Now he's overseas in China. Kay Felder on the floor was amazing. And then Kendrick Nunn before he got hurt, because don't forget, he was really hurt a lot of the year at OU. But before he got hurt, that dude was impressive, and we're seeing why in the NBA right now, because he is
yeah. But that's fair. I take it back. Kay Felder was probably the only player I've ever seen in this league where I was just saying, what do you do with this guy? How do you stop him?
Right.
I mean, you couldn't. But that was also back when NKU was ass in this league. So I think we went 9-21 that year overall. So
yeah, well, welcome to the big leagues, or bigger league. I guess not even the big leagues. Welcome to the big league.
I know, right?
Anything else from this just putrid week that is worth discussing for you? I mean, we've got just a lot of losses. I mean, and I don't feel great about any of the wins. Do you feel great about it, like anything from NKU side of things or anything like that?
Well, I mean, look, we can't pick who they put us against, right? Like, I'm not sitting here gonna beat my chest over this particularly, but on paper it looks pretty good. We went 2-0 against the MAC this year. Ball State and Miami, so take it for what it is. We went 1-0 against the OVC, who is a conference that turned us down when we first tried to go D1, so that always feels good. We beat the piss out of Eastern, and then today we beat Illinois State. And I know that Illinois State's not a world beater, but that's the MVC. That's a conference that we'd love to. Us NKU fans, we're always kind of looking for what could be next if down the road. That's a school or a conference that sort of aligns with our demographic. And so it's nice to go 1-0 against them on the year. So look, I'm a big fan of the win today. We were only favored by Vegas by 5. We beat them by 15. Tyler Sharp had 30. So I'm happy about it. And I tweeted this out from the North Report account. The rest of the league was down this week, so you can count on NKU on Sunday to bring it back up. So
well, and you know what? You got to be like you said. You can only do so much with scheduling. We all know the troubles with scheduling. Excuse me, fighting a cold. Troubles with scheduling, especially for mid majors. And the truth is, Northern Kentucky and Wright State keep winning their games. Whether they're the best world beater opponents, there's nothing crazy, but they're winning their games, and that's what the league needs. Is this Illinois State win sexy? No, but it was a win that was needed, and you won your game. Like you said, you beat them by 15 instead of 5 you were favored by. So that's a pretty good day. I accept that.
Yeah, and we'll consider. I mean, here's the thing: we'll look at. We'll really know what's going on. Granted, we won't really know what's going on until we get tape back and we get to see how that all works. But like, this UNC Greensboro game is, I mean, even more so than the Arkansas and Mizzou games. This is probably the biggest game of the season so far, and it's going to close out our conference play.
You're talking this upcoming week, right? We're gonna start talking about what's up on the horizon for the Horizon this week.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of the game.
No. It's time. We're there.
Cool. Let's segue into it then.
Talk to me about this game. Tell me why this game's important.
Yeah. Well, so they finished, I believe. So I was looking at 2 different things between Ken Palm or Net. I can't remember which one it was. They were 27th in one and 32nd in the other last year. They were a really, really good team. UNC Greensboro, that is. and we play them at UNC Greensboro this coming week. And they're, yet again, they're right up there again. They're 8-2. Actually, I take that back. I think they're 8-3 now. They just lost on a buzzer beater today to NC State around the same time that NKU was playing. So, losing on a buzzer beater to an ACC school, it's a little scary. So, it's a huge game for us. And like I said that, more so than the Mizzou game, because we're not going to really see teams like that too much the rest of the season, except until we get to the tournament, if we do. And then Arkansas is kind of the same way. Like those are both games where those are what the hell games. Like if you win that game, great. If not, okay, hopefully we at least look good. But when we play UNC Greensboro, I mean, that is a mid-major team that people know. And so if we win that game, Mid-Major Madness is talking about it. We maybe make the Mid-Major Madness top 25. So, this is a big one for us, I think.
I mean, I'm cool with all that. Like I said, they weren't really on my radar, but I'm good with that. I'm not going to tell you I'm a big UNC Greensboro guy. I just kind of glanced over it, and you mentioned that you wanted to discuss it. So hey, I'm willing to give you the floor to educate me on why that game's big. And I mean, any game's big right now for the Horizon because we just need to win games. But you know.
I just get really excited about really good Horizon or really good mid-major competition. So because the way I see it is it's a way to test ourselves against other opponents, right? Like we're not going up against Missouri. That's a team that had 4 4-star recruits. Like we don't have any 4-star recruits. In fact, we lost our only 3-star recruit. Actually, I think Dantes was a 3-star, but Chris Vogt was a 3-star. He's gone. So it's hard to really judge ourselves against those teams. It'd be great to beat them, but this is a game where they're an established, or at least recently established, mid-major school. And I think that is the best way for us to sort of show this mid-major community that really we're someone to be reckoned with this year. That's why I'm a big fan of it.
I'm good with all that, truly. So that game's on Saturday. Let's back up a couple days. Let's look at Wednesday real quick. Wednesday, you've got DePaul going to Cleveland State, which kind of surprised me. I'm not sure what this one. I wish Bob was here because I'm sure he could tell me why DePaul owes a game to Cleveland State at Cleveland State, because I know DePaul's not been great the past, however long, forever at this point, but they're having a good year right now. And for DePaul to be going to Cleveland State, in front of their 150 fans on their own, actually, that'll probably be a good day for Cleveland State because I have a feeling a lot of those DePaul fans will show up. If DePaul has fans that want to travel, I'll be curious to see that, if that's one of the better attendance days for Cleveland State. But that's a game that stood out to me, just to have DePaul coming into Cleveland State. The other game on Wednesday that is interesting but isn't going to go well is Oakland goes to Syracuse. Syracuse is 5-5. They're not a great team this year, but Oakland goes to Syracuse about every other year. Campy and Boeheim are good friends, good buddies, and it never goes. But Oakland at least has had some games with Michigan State where they've almost won one. They've kept some close. They don't get embarrassed. I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, I'm just playing off the top of my head, I feel like Oakland always gets embarrassed at Syracuse. They can't handle that zone. I was talking to Campy about the Syracuse game a couple weeks ago, and I said, they always say to break that zone, you got to have a big up top. I said, who's going to be that guy for Oakland? He goes, I don't know who passes well enough. He said something about Xavier Hill, or X will tell you it's going to be him and that he's a great passer, but I don't think it's going to be him. It probably will be X, but he wasn't too big on X being the guy up top breaking that zone. So that's just a game, like I said, and it never goes well for us, but it's cool for them to play at the Carrier Dome. It's a cool venue, they like that.
Well, it's good for recruiting too. I mean, look, you might get your ass whooped by them, but to be able to show the non-conference schedule that you guys have had to recruits, telling them you're going to get your opportunity to play under the bright lights. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to move the needle totally, but it definitely helps. I mean, it's better than NKU playing these NAIA schools or whatever. So kudos to Campy on the scheduling, and you can't win those games if you don't schedule them. So that's another thing. But yeah, as far as the 2-3 goes, man, you guys really are going to be missing Javen and Braden Norris in that game. I'm not saying you would win the game, but the way to, as Campy said, he's dead on. Obviously, 36-year coach, so he knows
He's done this once or twice.
Yeah, he knows what he's talking about. Sorry, I got an echo there. I don't know if you heard that or not, but it kind of threw me off. He he's dead on. You get the ball to the middle, everything else breaks down as long as that middle guy is a good passer. So like Braden Norris gets an open three, Oladapo cuts along the baseline, Brechting, might be playing high low as well with Xavier. Unfortunately for you guys this year, it's just I don't see the guard play to be able to supplement the big guys to beat that 2-3. But who knows?
Well, exactly, and I think Bershey's been playing that same zone too. So it's good for our guys to get a look at it so they can figure out what that looks like when they do see it. So that's just like I said, another game that kind of stood out to me. You've got UIC going to Illinois State on Wednesday, so just I like to see how teams compare against like teams. So we'll see how that one plays out.
You said USC is going to Illinois State?
Correct.
And so that's interesting because DePaul's going to Cleveland State, and DePaul just played USC, so we get to see a little bit of comparative analysis, or do a little bit of comparative analysis because these are so close together. So I like that.
And then looking ahead at Saturday real quick here, we got another one. We've got West Virginia traveling to Youngstown State, which is surprising to me. Again, I wouldn't imagine that West Virginia's going in there, but okay.
So that's interesting. I'm not going to speculate at all, but former NKU point guard back in the D2 days, and I think 1 year D1, Ethan Faulkner is an assistant coach at Youngstown, and West Virginia goes back. There's some relationships there. I'll just tell you that there's some relationships between West Virginia and NKU. They're the only ranked team that's ever played at our arena on the men's side, because there was a relationship between Huggins and our first D1 coach, Dave Beasled, and Ethan was on that team. And there's some other, assistants along the lines that, I don't know, through the coaching trees, there's some relationships. I'm not saying that's the reason, but I wouldn't be surprised if somehow that's sort of some of the things that were leveraged to get that game.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, like I said, that just glancing at it, trying to figure out how some these things happen. Like that's a weird one. The other game on Saturday for us to be aware of, and is Milwaukee going to Wisconsin. And I'm not going to tell you that I can tell you a whole lot about it, but I think that's a big one in their world.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen anything from Milwaukee this year to say like that I'm excited to see the outcome of that game. But like I said this earlier, crazier things have happened. So the Horizon League, I'll say this. The Horizon League has just had a piss showing in non-conference. We need a big week, and so if we can pull off 2 of these games, even 1 of these games, I'll take it. These of the Oakland, Syracuse, DePaul, Cleveland State, West Virginia, Youngstown, and Milwaukee and Wisconsin games. Of those 4 games, if we can pull off 1 of those, that's a huge win for the league as a whole, in my opinion.
You know what? I think that's exactly where we're at, and you know what? That's probably a good place to leave all this, because it's been a crappy week, and we gotta, we've been saying that for a couple weeks now. So we gotta hope that some of these games come through. We gotta hope that you guys take care of business and continue on that trend, and everyone needs to get some wins getting into non-conference here.
Yeah, well, here's the good news: is this should be the last game for most of us heading into the conference schedule. So non-conference is about to be over, and now we can all just beat the hell out of each other in the conference play.
Can't wait, and all the Twitter trash talk will come back. We'll all stop liking each other. I love that stuff. That's the fun stuff.
Speak for yourself, man. I try to do my best, not to stay neutral on Twitter, but I try to be nice. There's enough crap talkers that are branded NKU for me to be able to do that. So you're out there holding the fort pretty much on your own. So.
All right, I'm cool with that. I've gotten better, especially since I started doing this. I've tried to become more neutral and learn more about everybody. I watch more games, so. All right. Well, this is the part where Bob usually does his buffer out, and he tells you can catch Horizon Roundtable on Twitter, and the Facebook's there. You can listen to the podcast at all the different places where podcasts are. I'm a Spotify guy. I don't know how I ended up using Spotify for podcasts all the time, but that's where I listen. Where do you listen, Kyle?
Same. So we actually have a podcast for Norse Report. We have a couple different shows. We put them out on SoundCloud as our hosting service, just because it's free and it's easy, or it's free for everyone to listen to. and it's easy to use. But I'm a Spotify guy myself. We also have Apple Podcasts too. So
Right on. So yeah, you can catch Kyle and Norse Report online. You can catch me online, Bob, Horizon Roundtable, all that. So with that, let's hope for a better week from the Horizon.
I got one closing thing to say.
Yeah, man, go for it.
So no matter how bad it gets for the league, all right, no matter how bad it gets for whatever team you're a fan of, if you're a Mercy fan, no matter how bad it's getting for you guys this year, at least you're not an Oakland Raiders fan. At the end of the game, last game ever in Oakland, they threw trash on the field today. So they were throwing trash at their players, at the team, whatever. And that was hilarious to watch. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out on Twitter. It's amazing.
Awesome. All right, Kyle, thanks so much for joining me today. I appreciate not having to talk to just myself. I'm sure everybody listening appreciates not having to just listen to me, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. See you.
Thanks, everybody.